Before they closed the grave, someone placed a piece of gold beside the body. It was thin enough to fold, small enough to disappear in a hand. Scratched into its surface were directions meant for a person who could no longer read. Do not drink from the first spring. Wait for the other water. Speak to the guardians. Tell them who you are. More than 2,000 years later, objects like this have been recovered from graves in southern Italy, Crete, and northern Greece. Some were folded, others were pierced or kept inside small cases. The wording changed, but the purpose remained unnervingly practical. The dead were being prepared for a journey, not only with food, weapons, or coins, with a script. One tablet warns the soul away from a spring in the house of Hades. Others direct the traveler toward water associated with memory. Guards are waiting there. The dead must say the correct words before being allowed to drink. These were not teachings proclaimed at every marble temple. They belonged to private currents of Greek religious life, initiations, poems, purifications, and promises passed quietly between people. Today, the tablets are often called Orphic. That name leads to Orpheus, the singer who entered the country of the dead and returned alive. But the gold gives us no complete religion. It gives us something stranger, a body in darkness, carrying words it was expected to remember after the familiar world had vanished. The Greeks knew Orpheus as a musician whose voice could alter the behavior of living things. Trees leaned toward him, stones followed, wild animals became still. Then his wife, Eurydice, died. The story says Orpheus followed her below. He played before Hades and Persephone, and the rulers of the dead agreed to release her on one condition. He must walk toward the surface without looking back. He almost succeeded. Near the exit, he turned. Eurydice disappeared a second time. That failure made him useful. Orpheus had crossed the boundary, seen what waited beyond it, and returned with grief attached to his name. Later poems and rites borrowed his authority. If anyone could be imagined as the author of Underworld instructions, it was the man who had already taken the road. Yet there is no reliable evidence that one historical Orpheus founded a church called Orphism. Ancient writers attached many works and practices to his name. The name functioned like a seal. This knowledge came from someone who had been there. Greek religion had no central institution deciding which story was official. Versions changed between cities, poets, and centuries. Orpheus became a voice that could travel through them. The gold tablets imagine the initiated dead possessing information others do not. They can approach the right powers, make a claim about themselves, and ask for a better destination. Knowledge becomes passage. But first comes a test so simple that it feels cruel. The traveler will be thirsty, and the first water may be the wrong water. Picture the scene preserved across several tablets. The soul arrives exhausted. Ahead stands a spring, sometimes marked by a white cypress. The water is close, immediate, easy. The instruction says to pass it. Farther on lies another source, connected with Mnemosyne, memory. Guards stand nearby. The dead must explain their thirst and declare their origin. One surviving formula begins with an astonishing claim: "I am a child of Earth and Starry Heaven." The speaker is dead, stripped of property, household, and civic rank. Yet the sentence names no profession, family, or city. It places the speaker inside the structure of the cosmos. Only then may the traveler receive the cold water of memory. The danger is relief offered too soon. Drink without understanding, and the self that arrived may dissolve into forgetfulness. The tablets do not all describe the same route. Some address Persephone or Dionysus, others speak of purity, divine kinship, or joining the blessed. No surviving manual fits every fragment into one system. Still, the repeated concern with memory is hard to ignore. The initiate prepared while alive. The gold may have been a final prompt for teachings heard during ritual. Its real contents had to be carried inside the person. Gold is useless if the dead cannot recognize the instruction. Here, death is imagined as disorientation. The final danger is losing direction when no familiar face remains to correct you. Then archaeology recovered another damaged message from this vanished world. It survived because it burned. In 1962, workers widening a road near Derveni in northern Greece disturbed an ancient cemetery. Among the remains of a funeral pyre were hundreds of blackened papyrus fragments. Fire nearly destroyed the scroll, but carbonization preserved pieces that would normally decay. The 4th century BCE Derveni papyrus comments on a sacred poem attributed to Orpheus. Its writer treats divine names and actions as coded statements about nature and cosmic order. This is one of the oldest surviving European books. It is also a warning. Material connected with Orpheus could be ritual instruction, poetry, cosmology, philosophy, or a specialist's claim to hidden knowledge. Scholars once reconstructed Orphism as a coherent religion. In one famous version, the Titans murdered the young Dionysus, Zeus destroyed them, and humanity emerged from their remains, inheriting violence and something divine. It is a powerful story. The complete sequence does not appear in the early gold tablets. Its pieces come from different periods, and the version joining them into one doctrine depends heavily on much later writers. So the honest answer is untidy. There were texts attributed to Orpheus. There were unusual rites and people called Orphic. There were gold instructions for certain dead. But there may never have been a unified Orphic church with one theology recognized everywhere. The religion we want to recover may be partly a shape created by the gaps between the evidence. And those gaps surround the one thing the tablets make painfully clear. Someone expected the dead to speak. The words differ, but they share a peculiar confidence. The dead do not crawl through the underworld as anonymous shadows. One approaches Persephone as a purified person. Another claims kinship with the gods. Another says suffering has ended and asks to join the blessed. These are claims of status. The initiate arrives carrying a different account of who they are. That may explain the gold. The sheet was almost weightless, yet it resisted decay. Flesh disappeared, clothing collapsed, wood softened into earth. The sentence remained bright. The tablet did not prove that the soul would survive. It preserved the identity the initiate hoped would survive. Long before the funeral, a living person may have rehearsed a new answer to what would remain when public life was removed. The answer was larger than a name: Earth and Starry Heaven. Memory instead of oblivion. A place among the blessed instead of an unmarked shadow among countless dead. We cannot know what an initiate felt while learning these lines. Relief, perhaps. Pride. Fear that the words might fail at the exact moment they were needed. Nor can we know whether every tablet records the same ritual, but the graves preserve the action. Someone bent over a body, someone positioned the gold, someone closed the tomb, believing that language still had work to do. A monument speaks to the living outside. The tablet faced inward, toward a traveler no one else could accompany. Its audience was one person, and that person was dead. A hospital worker cuts the identification band from a wrist. A phone no longer unlocks for the face placed before it. An employer closes an account. A family opens drawers and finds objects whose importance died with the person who understood them. Modern identity depends on recognition. A database accepts the number. A child knows the voice from the next room. Then the system stops answering. The gold tablets begin exactly there, where ordinary credentials become useless. Their answer was radical. Beneath the civic name and temporary body, the initiate carried another origin. The guardians of memory had to hear it. The traveler had to remember it. There is no evidence that a spring waits for us beneath a white cypress. Archaeology proves that people prepared for such a meeting. It cannot prove the meeting occurred. But the preparation exposes something recognizable. We are less frightened of empty darkness than of entering it confused. That is why people write final letters, pray at bedsides, carve names into stone, and tell the dying who holds their hand. We place words at the edge of silence. The Orphic Gold does not remove death. It gives the dead one final action. Refuse the easy water. Remember a deeper identity. Speak before disappearing into the crowd. The most disturbing part begins before death. We obey countless instructions without noticing. Be useful. Be admired. Do not disappoint the family. Keep the title. Protect the version of yourself that other people recognize. One by one, those commands become a life. Then a tiny sheet of gold asks what remains when none of them can answer for you. Nothing disappears without a trace. Sometimes the trace is a sentence placed beside the dead, waiting for someone to remember what it meant.